Hello and welcome back to the channel. Now, we all know the big names in the Godzilla universe, creatures like Mothra, King Ghidorah, and Mechagodzilla, but today we're going to be taking a look at 10 weird monsters from the Godzilla universe that you've probably never heard of before. Before we get too deep into this one, we do have a very quick request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Now, sit back and enjoy as we dive on in. Varan. First up, we've got Varan, also known in Japan as Baron. This kaiju first appeared way back in 1958 in Ishiro Honda's film Varan the Unbelievable. He's basically a giant prehistoric reptile that can glide through the air. Think of him as a mix between a flying dinosaur and a mythological creature. Varan's design came from some real legends behind Toho's special effects, Eiji Tsuburaya and Keizo Murase, who imagined him as something between Godzilla and a kappa, the river spirit from Japanese folklore. The creature itself was brought to life by none other than Haruo Nakajima, the same suit actor who played Godzilla a few years earlier. Another actor, Katsumi Tezuka, helped out with some of the water scenes. Now, even though Varan never became a household name like Godzilla or Mothra, he's still a favorite among die-hard kaiju fans. Over the years, he's popped up in comics, novels, and video games, and he's been considered for a few movie projects that sadly never made it off the ground. In the original Varan the Unbelievable, the creature is worshipped as a mountain god called Baradagi by villagers living near a remote lake. But when a team of scientists shows up to investigate, things go horribly wrong. Varan wakes up, crawls out of the lake, and absolutely wrecks the entire village. The Japanese Defense Force tries everything to stop him, but nothing works. Eventually, they use experimental explosives to lure him out, hoping he'll swallow them. It actually works. Varan eats a couple, they explode inside him, and he retreats into the ocean before vanishing completely. Interestingly, the American version of the film, released in 1962 under the same title, changes quite a bit. In that cut, Varan doesn't fly, and instead of dying, he's just injured in an explosion before crawling back into the sea, never to be seen again. A decade later, Varan showed up once more, this time in Destroy All Monsters. The film takes place at the end of the 20th century, with all the world's kaiju living peacefully on a place called Monster Island. But of course, that peace doesn't last long. An alien race called the Kilax invades Earth and takes control of the monsters, including Varan, turning them into weapons of destruction. Once humanity breaks the Kilax control, the monsters unite and fight back, and in one epic scene, they take on King Ghidorah near Mount Fuji. After the aliens are defeated, Varan and the others head back to Monster Island to live in peace once more. Varan hasn't had many big screen moments since, but he does make a small cameo in Godzilla Final Wars from 2004, shown in a quick montage of Earth being attacked by different monsters. There's even a blink and you'll miss it shot of a kid playing with kaiju figures, and one of them is Varan. Hedora, the smog monster. Hedora first appeared in Godzilla vs. Hedora back in 1971. Originating from a comet, Hedora was an alien lifeform that started off small, like a slimy tadpole, and quickly grew stronger by consuming the planet's pollution. The more toxic the air, the bigger it got. It wasn't long before Hedora transformed into a massive sludge-like monster and made its way to Japan. From there, it went through several terrifying stages, from crawling on land to flying through the air, spreading poisonous mist over cities, and finally turning into a towering beast that could even go head-to-head with Godzilla himself. The two monsters fought near Mount Fuji, where Godzilla found that his atomic breath barely worked on this creature. Hedora was nearly unstoppable, strong, toxic, and constantly changing form. In the end, it took both Godzilla's power and a human-built weapon, a set of giant electrodes that basically fried Hedora until it dried up, to bring it down. But even then, the film made it clear that pollution wasn't going anywhere. Meanwhile, another Hedora could always rise again. Now, what's really cool is how this creature came to be. While Godzilla was originally a metaphor for nuclear destruction, Hedora was designed to represent another threat Japan was facing in the 1970s, pollution. Director Yoshimitsu Banno wanted a villain that symbolized the country's growing smog problem, especially a real-life issue known as Yokkaichi asthma. Banno didn't want just another random monster, he wanted a walking symbol of how humans were poisoning their own planet. The suit actor, Kenpachiro Satsuma, was the guy inside Hedora, and a fun fact, he later went on to play Godzilla himself in later films. For this role, though, he tried to make Hedora move in an unnatural alien way, not like an animal, but like something that didn't belong on Earth. After Godzilla vs. Hedora, the smog monster kinda disappeared for a while. He did make a quick comeback decades later in Godzilla Final Wars from 2004, where he was under the control of alien invaders called the Zillions. Hedora teamed up with another monster, Ebirah, to fight Godzilla in Tokyo Bay, but Godzilla made quick work of them both. In the Godzilla Planet of the Monsters prequel novel, Monster Apocalypse, we learn that Hedora actually started out as a colony of sludge-like microorganisms found inside a mine in China. The government tried to turn it into a bioweapon called Operation Hedora, and it worked a little too well. After taking down Anguirus and Rodan, Hedora gained sentience, went berserk, and wiped out over 8 million people before disappearing. To celebrate Hedora's 50th anniversary, Toho released a short film in 2021 called Godzilla vs. Hedora, featuring a modern rematch between the two monsters at an oil refinery. Space Godzilla. Space Godzilla is one of the most powerful and mysterious enemies Godzilla ever faced, and unlike most of his rivals, this one came straight from outer space. Born from Godzilla's own cells that somehow got blasted into space, possibly through Mothra's spores or Biolante's remains, Space Godzilla was mutated by the energy of a black hole, merged with crystalline life forms, and came back as something far more dangerous. Armed with psychic powers, energy blasts, and the ability to create massive crystal structures, Space Godzilla wasn't just a physical threat, he was tactical. His first move was abducting little Godzilla and turning Fukuoka into his own crystal fortress. The military sent out their giant robot, Moguera, but even that wasn't enough on its own. It took both Moguera and Godzilla teaming up to finally bring Space Godzilla down, and even then, humanity was warned that another one could rise if we keep sending our waste into space. Space Godzilla's design is one of the most unique in the entire series. Imagine Godzilla but fused with living crystals. His back is lined with sharp crystal spines, huge crystal towers stick out from his shoulders, and a golden crest crowns his head. His dark blue and purple tones give him that cosmic, otherworldly feel, like a corrupted version of Godzilla himself. The creators originally toyed with all kinds of ideas, and at one point, Space Godzilla was imagined with dragon wings, two tails, or even ice powers. But the final look we got, inspired by Godzilla's design from the video game Super Godzilla, perfectly nailed that alien clone vibe. Outside of 1994's Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, he's appeared in several spin-offs and side stories. In the Godzilla Island series, Space Godzilla battles Godzilla multiple times and even returns in a stronger super special form, only to get defeated again when his shoulder crystals are destroyed. He also pops up in Godziban as a cosmic counterpart to Godzilla-kun, joined by Space Manila and Space Little. And while opinions on the film were mixed, fans and critics agreed on one thing: Space Godzilla looked incredible. Batra. Now, here's a kaiju that doesn't get talked about enough. Batra, the dark twin of Mothra. He made his debut in 1992's Godzilla vs. Mothra, and unlike Mothra, who protects humanity, Batra was created to destroy it. According to the story, Batra was born from the Earth itself around 12,000 years ago after an ancient civilization built a climate-controlled device that nearly threw nature out of balance. The planet fought back by creating Batra, a living weapon meant to destroy the device, and he did. But after completing that mission, he turned on humanity, seeing people as the true threat to the planet. This is when Mothra stepped in. The two clashed in a massive battle that wiped out the ancient world, ending only when Mothra sealed Batra deep beneath the Arctic ice. Thousands of years later, a meteor strike woke him up, and Batra returned to finish what he started. He attacked Japan in his larval form, battled Godzilla, and eventually evolved into his winged adult stage. When he and Mothra crossed paths again, they were ready to destroy each other until Godzilla showed up. Realizing the greater danger, Batra joined forces with Mothra to take down the king of the monsters. They won the fight, but it cost Batra his life. Batra's concept actually started with an unused monster called Gigamoth, which was supposed to be a mutated moth created by nuclear pollution. Over time, Toho reworked that idea into something more mythic, a divine guardian like Mothra, but one that was born from anger instead of compassion. His final design came from Minoru Yoshida, who gave him a bold, colorful look with red and purple accents and a much more aggressive face. Unlike Mothra's soft, graceful design, Batra looked like pure rage given wings. His larval form was brought to life by suit actor Hurricane Ryo Harakin, while his flying form was done using props to emphasize its heavy and menacing movement. Batra is not evil for the sake of evil, he's more like nature's dark side. He fights for the Earth, but his way of doing it involves wiping out humanity completely. Still, under all that fury, there is a sense of duty. In Godzilla vs. Mothra, he even sacrifices himself to save the planet from a meteor strike, trusting Mothra to carry on his mission. In other stories, from comics to novels and even shows, Batra's personality shifts a bit. Sometimes he's portrayed as a reluctant ally to Mothra or humanity when bigger threats appear, and at other times he's shown as a full-on destroyer, especially when he's under someone else's control, like the psychic twins Minette and Mallory in the IDW comics. Gigan. Next, let's talk about one of Godzilla's most vicious and downright sadistic rivals, Gigan, the alien cyborg kaiju who made his first appearance in Godzilla vs. Gigan back in 1972. Gigan was built by the M-Space Hunter Nebula aliens as their ultimate weapon to conquer Earth. They sent him down alongside King Ghidorah, and the two of them tore through Tokyo until Godzilla and Anguirus showed up to stop them. After an intense battle, Gigan was forced to retreat into space, but the following year, he came back for more. In Godzilla vs. Megalon, the aliens loaned him out to the Cetopians, and together with Megalon, Gigan tried to destroy humanity once more. Unfortunately for him, Godzilla and Jet Jaguar teamed up and sent him running back into space. Gigan's story didn't end there. He later popped up in the Zone Fighter TV series, this time under the control of the Garogas, who upgraded him with new abilities. He fought both Godzilla and Zone Fighter, but this time he didn't make it out alive. Decades later, Gigan made his big comeback in Godzilla Final Wars. He was reimagined with a sleeker, deadlier design, and he battled Godzilla in Antarctica before getting sliced apart. The aliens rebuilt him, but during his rematch in Tokyo, he ended up cutting off his own head with his razor discs. Even though his early movies weren't the most published, Gigan became a fan favorite. Director Ryuhei Kitamura loved him so much that he brought him back for Final Wars. Toho even released 2 short films in 2022, Godzilla vs. Gigan Rex and Gigan Attacks, to celebrate his 50th anniversary. Originally, Gigan was conceived for an early draft called Godzilla vs. the Space Monsters, where he was going to work with Megalon and King Ghidorah under the command of an alien brain named Miko. That idea evolved into the version we know today, a cybernetic space dinosaur with buzzsaws, hooks for hands, and a bad attitude. Gigan isn't just strong, he's mean. He enjoys tearing his enemies apart, often attacking even when they're down. His hook hands and chest-mounted buzzsaw make him one of the most brutal kaiju in Toho's lineup. But for all that aggression, he's also a bit of a coward. In his early appearances, he bails the second the fight turns against him, leaving his allies to fend for themselves. Still, his violent, almost gleeful fighting style makes him stand out amidst Godzilla's rogues gallery. Later adaptations gave Gigan a bit more variety. In Godzilla Island, he's shown as an honorable warrior who respects Godzilla and prefers fair one-on-one duels. By contrast, Final Wars turns him into an arrogant show-off who literally destroys himself mid-battle. And interestingly, in the Godzilla Project Mechagodzilla novel, a prequel to the anime trilogy, Gigan is actually portrayed as a hero. This version fights alongside humanity to stop Godzilla, saving countless lives in the process. In the Showa era, Gigan started as a space dinosaur turned cyborg by alien invaders. In Final Wars, he's rewritten as an ancient weapon sent to Earth by the Zillions thousands of years ago, only to be defeated by Mothra and later reactivated in the modern day. And in the anime continuity, he's found sleeping under the sea near Siberia, where he's enhanced with alien technology and turned into a biological weapon, another failed attempt to stop Godzilla. Biolante. Biolante first appears in Godzilla vs. Biolante from 1989, and she's unlike any other kaiju before her. Instead of being an animal or a machine, Biolante is part plant, part Godzilla, and part human. The story picks up after Godzilla's return in 1985. A scientist named Dr. Genshiro Shiragami is working in the Middle East trying to develop plants that can survive harsh climates by using Godzilla's cells, hoping to create crops that could end famine. But everything falls apart when a terrorist bombing destroys his lab and kills his daughter, Erica. Heartbroken, Shiragami does something no one should ever do. He mixes Erica's DNA with that of a rose to keep her spirit alive. Years later, when an earthquake threatens to destroy the rose, he takes it one step further and splices in Godzilla's DNA. That experiment gives birth to Biolante, a towering plant monster with both Godzilla's power and Erica's soul trapped inside. Biolante escapes into Lake Ashi, where she starts calling out to Godzilla. When he finally arrives, the two clash in a brutal fight that ends with Biolante being burned by Godzilla's atomic breath, but she's not gone. Her spores rise into the sky and later reform into an even larger, more monstrous version of herself near Osaka. In their rematch, Biolante and Godzilla battle until the anti-nuclear energy bacteria weakens Godzilla enough for him to retreat. As Biolante dissolves once again, we see the image of Erica's face among the light, a haunting reminder that she's still inside. She doesn't appear again in the Heisei films, but her story continues to echo through the series. Later, in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, it was hinted that some of Biolante's cells escaped into space, possibly leading to the creation of Space Godzilla. Writer Shinichiro Kobayashi imagined her as a tragic fusion of science and loss, the ultimate warning about human obsession with playing God. Her early designs were wild. Some versions even gave her a woman's face and butterfly-like petals, but Toho eventually went with a monstrous organic look that made her feel both beautiful and horrifying. The special effects team went all out for Biolante. Her final form required a massive 3-meter-long puppet controlled by over 20 people using wires and hydraulics. She was so large and detailed that it took more people to operate her than King Ghidorah. Originally, her final battle with Godzilla was going to be done with stop-motion animation, but Toho decided to stick with traditional suitmation to match the rest of the film. Biolante is not evil, she's tragic. Deep down, the mind of Erica still exists inside her, crying out from within the monster. Psychic characters in the film, like Miki Segusa, sense her fear and confusion. She doesn't want to destroy, she just doesn't understand what she's become, but that human part of her slowly fades as the Godzilla DNA takes over. By the time of her final battle, she's more instinct than emotion, fighting out of pain and fear. Still, in her final moments, when her energy form rises into the sky, Miki hears her one final time, saying thank you. That single moment turned Biolante from a monster into something more. Even though she's only appeared in one film, Biolante became a fan favorite. She's popped up in comics, video games, and even novels. In some stories, she's portrayed as a pure force of nature, restoring balance to a ruined Earth. In others, she's a living weapon controlled by an alien species or scientists. Decades later, Biolante returned in the modern era through Godzilla, Monster Apocalypse, the prequel novel to Godzilla, Planet of the Monsters. In this version, she appeared off the coast of Normandy and went up against the Far East Union's military forces. 2 prototype Moguera machines were sent to stop her. One was destroyed instantly, but the other managed to drill into her root core and blow her apart from the inside. She also got a softer reimagining in the Godziban web series. Here, Biolante, known as Sakuya, protects an ancient forest from the 3-headed monster Des Ghidorah. One of her seedlings, a dryad-like character named Erica, seeks help from Godzilla-kun, Little Godzilla, and Manila to defend their home. It's a lighter, more heartfelt take on her story, keeping that connection between Biolante and Erica alive, even in this alternate version. Kamakuras. Now let's talk about one of the creepiest and most overlooked monsters in Godzilla's entire lineup, Kamakuras, the giant praying mantis. Kamakuras first appeared in Son of Godzilla in 1967. Like most kaiju that come from space or mad science, this one was born out of a human experiment gone horribly wrong. On Solgel Island, scientists were testing a United Nations weather control device when something went wrong. A radiation storm blasted the island and mutated the local wild. Among them were giant mantises, which grew to 50 meters tall, became known as Kamakuras. 3 of them stumbled across Manila's egg, did open, and started tormenting the poor baby Godzilla. First mistake. Godzilla soon arrived, 2 of the Kamakuras, and sent the survivor fleeing. The last one didn't get far enough, ended up caught in the web of Kumonga, the giant spider. Pretty grim end. Kamakuras made a brief return in All Monsters Attack as part of a dream sequence that chased a young boy through Monster Island. Decades later, it came back in Godzilla Final Wars, this time under the control of the alien Zillions. Creature was sent to attack Paris before facing Godzilla in Japan. It was easily wiped out in classic kaiju fashion. Kamakuras is one of those monsters that doesn't need a tragic backstory to be scary. It's just mean. In every version, it's shown as aggressive, cunning, and sadistic. In Son of Godzilla, the Kamakuras do not just break open Manila's egg, almost mocking the tiny creature before attacking. All that cruelty, they're also coward. As soon as Godzilla shows up, Kamakuras flees and hides, turn on weaker prey like the scientists stranded on the island. Some later versions give Kamakuras more personality. On Godzilla Island, it's portrayed as a schemer who tricks other monsters and even lies about Godzilla's death to take control. In other stories, like the Random House novels, Kamakuras actually gets some redemption by working with other kaiju, protecting young monsters, even fighting with Godzilla against bigger threats. And interestingly, some adaptations show Kamakuras as smart, using teamwork to hunt, put out fires on its wings, and showing a surprising level of intelligence for a kaiju. The original Showa series, Kamakuras started as a simple mutation, a regular mantis transformed by radiation into a monster, but in later stories the origins vary wildly. In the Godzilla 2000 novel, an asteroid crashes into Kansas, leaking alien DNA that infects mantises and creates an entire swarm of Kamakuras, over 1,000 of them. In other versions, it's created through failed scientific experiments, appears naturally as part of the planet's ancient ecosystem. Godzilla anime trilogy timeline, Kamakuras actually becomes the first kaiju to ever attack humanity, striking New York City in 1999, an event that kicks off the human struggle against giant monsters in that universe. Orga. Orga made his debut in Godzilla 2000, Millennium from 1999. He's easily one of the strangest and most terrifying monsters in the entire series. He was created when a race of alien beings called the Millennians absorbed Godzilla's DNA, specific powerful organizer G1, which gives Godzilla his insane healing abilities. Their plan was to use that DNA to evolve into a form capable of surviving on Earth. Things didn't exactly go as planned. Instead of turning into a perfect hybrid, aliens mutated into a massive twisted version of Godzilla, hunched, gray, and grotesque. That's how Orga was born. Enormous claws, a warped jaw, a body that looked like it was melting and regenerating at the same time. Orga came to Earth in his alien ship and immediately went after Godzilla and to absorb even more of his DNA to become a perfect copy. The fight between them was brutal. Orga was tough, regenerating faster than Godzilla could damage him. Orga tried to swallow Godzilla whole, fully merge with him. Godzilla unleashed a nuclear pulse from inside his throat, blowing Orga apart from within. The monster's body disintegrated. Visually, Orga looks like a warped mirror of Godzilla, kind of thing you'd get if a cloning experiment went horribly wrong. He has a huge upper body, tiny legs, and long arms ending in massive claws. His skin is pale, rough, and uneven, covered in deep grooves and folds that make him look more alien than animal. When he starts absorbing more of Godzilla's DNA, you can see hints of transformation. His skin shifts towards a greenish tone, glowing dorsal fins begin to grow from his back. If he had succeeded, Orga might have turned into a near-perfect clone of Godzilla. Thankfully, perhaps, unlike most kaiju, Orga isn't purely instinctive. There's a bit of intelligence left in it. Early in the fight, he even tries to communicate with Godzilla before giving into his hunger for DNA. He's slow and heavy, but dangerous, using telepathic control to command his UFO, absorb attacks meant for him. Still, Orga's mind is fractured. The more of Godzilla's DNA he absorbs, the less control he has. By the time they battle, he's acting on instinct only by the urge to consume and evolve. Godzilla's nuclear pulse ignites inside him. There's a brief flicker of fear in Orga's eyes, last sign of consciousness he left. In Godzilla 2000, Orga's story begins millions of years ago. Millennials crashed into Earth's ocean and went dormant. He only woke up when a submarine light hit their ship. Once reactivated, he went searching for genetic material to help him adapt. Godzilla's DNA was exactly what they needed, but his power was too unstable for them to control, mutating them into the monster we know as Orga. Godzilla, rulers of Earth. Orga's origins are similar. His alien ship, stored at Area 51, absorbs Godzilla's DNA, freed by Gigan, creating the same monstrous hybrid. Godzilla anime trilogy timeline, there's some debate about where Orga came from. Some believe he's an alien life crash landed on Earth and went dormant. Others think he might be a distant relative of Godzilla, another mutation born from the same genetic material. Kumonga. Next up, we have Kumonga, a giant spider first appeared in Son of Godzilla in 1967. It lurked deep beneath Soul Gel Island, sleeping in a massive underground valley. It wasn't some alien or mutation like other kaiju, just a huge ancient predator waiting for the right moment to strike. That moment came when Manila, Godzilla's son, accidentally kicked a boulder into its nest, waking it up. Once away, Kumonga wasted no time in making everyone's life miserable. It captured Manila, even webbed up a Kamakuras for a snack. The stranded scientists on the island weren't safe either. The spider hunted them down, spinning webs around their camp. But in the end, Godzilla showed up to save his kid, who tagged the giant spider, burning it alive with atomic breath. A second Kumonga later showed up in Destroy All Monsters from 1968. It was kept on Monster Island peacefully with the other kaiju aliens tried to take control of. King Ghidorah attacked Earth. Kumonga joined forces with Godzilla and Mothra, covering Ghidorah in webbing so the other monsters could finish him off. Decades later, Kumonga returned in Godzilla Final Wars. This time, it was under alien control again. The Zillions unleashed it in Arizona and sent it after Godzilla in New Guinea. Kumonga tried using its webs to trap it. Godzilla just flung the spider halfway across the horizon. Every version of Kumonga is a ruthless hunt. It doesn't just fight, it stalks, traps, and toys with its prey. In Son of Godzilla, it's shown as a calculating predator, attacking humans and monsters alike just for wandering too close. It even taunted Manila before trying to stab him with its stinger. Not every version of Kumonga is completely monstrous. In Destroy All Monsters, it coexists peacefully with the other kaiju and helps save Earth. Later stories and comics take this further, Kumonga as more intelligent, capable of strategy, teamwork. In Godzilla Legends, for example, Kumonga sets up a trap in quicksand for Godzilla, using its web to drag him down. In Godzilla, Rulers of Earth, it helps fight alien invaders alongside Mechagodzilla and the rest of the Earth monsters. In some stories, it shows concern when Godzilla is injured. The original Showa timeline, Kumonga was simply a massive spider species native to Solgel Island, discovered years before Godzilla ever appeared. Whether it was mutated by radiation like Kamakuras is that big isn't clear. It's been around for a long time. In other continuities, Kumonga's origins vary. In one version, the result of cryochemical experiments gone wrong from a size after a lab exploded in Nevada. In Godzilla Final Wars, it's reintroduced as one of the returning classic monsters on alien mind control, backs the same terrifying instincts. More recent Godzilla Singular Point from 2021, Kumonga was reimagined as a species of parasitic creatures, smaller but much faster. These versions appeared in swarms, attacking Jet Jaguar and the Otaki factory crew emerging from a dead sea monster. They built a massive web nest in a port city. When their nest was destroyed, panicked and scattered. Titanosaurus. Titanosaurus wasn't born evil. In fact, he started off as a peaceful ocean, a gentle giant quietly beneath the waves. Everything changed when he was discovered by a marine biologist named Dr. Shinzo Mifune. Mifune was obsessed with finding ways to control sea life, claimed to have found Titanosaurus, could actually command him. The scientific world laughed him out of existence. Mifune spent the next 15 years trying to prove everyone wrong. That's when the black hole planet aliens, the same invaders who built Mechagodzilla, came to him with an offer. They promised him power, respect, place in their new world if he helped them conquer Earth. Mifune agreed, using his device to control Titanosaurus and unleash him alongside their rebuilt Mechagodzilla 2. Together, the two monsters devastated Tokyo. Godzilla arrived to stop the combined power of Mechagodzilla's weapons and Titanosaurus' strength, one of the toughest fights in the series. Titanosaurus used his massive tail fin to create whirlwinds strong enough to toss Godzilla around like a toy. Interpol activated a sonic wave oscillator. The signal interfered with Mifune's control over Titanosaurus. Freed from his programming, the sea creature backed off and Godzilla destroyed Mechagodzilla once and for all. Titanosaurus stands out from most kaiju because of its striking design, a mix between a prehistoric reptile and sea creature. He's bright red with dark streaks across his body, cream-colored belly, fins running from his head to his tail. He also has smaller fins on his cheek and two antennae sticking out from the top of his head, actually tied to the control device in his brain. His most dangerous weapon is that massive tail he uses to whip up powerful wind gusts and underwater currents strong enough to sink battleships. Despite his size, he's surprisingly graceful in the water, fast, agile, and completely at home in the deep ocean. Titanosaurus was described by screenwriter Yukiko Takayama as a very quiet, friendly dinosaur, and that's exactly what he was meant to be, a misunderstood creature turned into a weapon. Once he broke free of Mifune's control, he showed no aggression toward Godzilla or humans, and simply retreated into the ocean. Later appearances across comics and games, Titanosaurus is often portrayed as neutral, not evil, but exactly a hero either. Godzilla Unleashed, he joins the mutant faction, driven by humanity's interference rather than pure malice. In Godzilla, Gangsters and Goliaths, he fights Kumonga briefly before being calmed down by Mothra's fairies, the Elias. And Godzilla, Rulers of Earth, he's shown as part of the planet's natural order, teaming up with Batra, other Earth kaiju to defend against alien threats like Space Godzilla and the Trilobites. No matter the version, Titanosaurus always comes off as a tragic figure, monster caught between his peaceful nature and the chaos forced upon him. According to Terror of Mechagodzilla, Titanosaurus was discovered back in 1960. Dr. Mifune was studying sea life behavior. His obsession with controlling the creature led to his downfall, eventually to Titanosaurus's corruption at the hands of the aliens. The diagram shown in the movie even reveals that the mind control device was implanted directly into Titanosaurus's head, possibly through his antenna, him into a weapon of mass destruction. Comics, Titanosaurus has been portrayed as one of the ancient water guardians alongside other elemental kaiju, Mothra and Rodan. This idea paints him not as a freak mutation, but as part of Earth's natural balance, being that exists before humans ever walked the Earth. Marvelous verdict! With that, guys, we've come to the end of yet another marvelous video. Now, we want to hear from you. Which one of these monsters did you find the most interesting? Could bring one of them back for a new Godzilla movie? Who would it be? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and hear enough of a response, we'll do a full video on. Enjoyed watching this? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more marvelous content. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and see you next time.